All right, welcome in everyone. You know how this goes. It's the deep dive. We take those fascinating sources you send our way and, well, we dive deep.
That's right. We take a look and see what we can uncover.
Exactly. And this time around, we've got something pretty powerful, I think, an audio story that really just grabbed us. It's from, I believe, a podcast called Seeing Beyond Design, A Story of Accessibility.
Yeah, and it really does a fantastic job of, bringing to light why accessibility and user experience design, UX for short, is so incredibly important, not just some sort of afterthought. It's got to be there from the beginning.
Absolutely. And I think, what this particular story does so well is it lets you walk in the shoes of someone who experiences these accessibility barriers every day.
Definitely. It puts you right there with Neda, who is a low vision user, and she's trying to do something that, let's be honest, most of us just take for granted, ordering groceries online.
Yeah, through an app. And
Yeah.
it's like, you can almost feel her frustration, right? Like this story describes this experience of trying to make out this tiny blurry text on the screen and always second guessing yourself. Like, is this the button I'm supposed to press?
Yeah, it's like trying to hit a target you can barely see.
Right.
Right. And it really paints a clear picture of how, when interfaces are poorly designed, they create these huge obstacles for people.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's not just about visual challenges. The story also talks about the experience of relying on a screen reader, which, for folks who may not be familiar, it's a software that basically reads out loud the text on the screen, describes the elements, super helpful for blind or low vision users. But even with a screen reader, if the app isn't designed right, it can be a nightmare.
Totally. Like in the story, right, Nita's trying to use the app and the screen reader keeps saying unlabeled button over and over again.
Yeah. Talk about frustrating. It's like you're trying to participate, to be independent, but the technology itself is shutting you out. And what's even more heartbreaking, Nita mentions, this isn't just an isolated issue with one app.
Oh, absolutely. This is a problem that crops up again and again across different digital platforms.
Exactly. And that's where it becomes clear that there's a systemic issue here. That we, as designers, as developers, need to do better and make accessibility a core part of the design process from the very beginning.
Couldn't agree more. And it brings up this really crucial point. Assumptions in design. Assuming things will just work for everyone, that can create huge, huge barriers for people with disabilities.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into that trap of designing based on our own experiences, on what we think works. But the reality is there's a whole spectrum of human abilities and needs out there.
Right. Like if you've never personally struggled to see a button or read text, you might never even think about it as a potential issue.
Exactly. And that's why this story is so powerful. It shifts the perspective.
Yeah.
We hear from the UX designer who created this app, and we get to witness their journey of understanding and learning.
Yeah, and what's interesting is their initial reaction to these accessibility complaints is actually pretty common. After they released this new app update, they started getting all this feedback about how it was actually harder to use for some folks.
Especially for low vision users, right?
Yeah.
They're running into problems with unlabeled buttons, and I think the term was low contrast.
Yeah, which basically means the text and the background are too similar in color. It's hard to read, even for people without vision issues.
And the designer's internal realization, it's almost like a light bulb moment. Oh no, we never actually tested this with users like Neda. We just assumed it worked.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful moment of accountability.
It really exposes the trap we can fall into, right? Designing based on our own limited experience instead of actively seeking out the perspectives of people who might interact with our designs in very different ways.
Right. And it's not enough to just feel bad about it, The designer in this story actually decides to go a step further.
Absolutely. Instead of just reading the feedback reports, they decide to connect with Nita directly. Talk to her, understand her experience firsthand.
And that leads to this incredible meeting. It's not just a theoretical discussion about accessibility anymore. Nita's sitting there with a designer showing them exactly what's going wrong.
Yeah, like physically pointing to the checkout button and demonstrating how the screen reader just says unlabeled button. No context, no clue what it does.
Imagine being a screen reader user and encountering that over and over again. You'd have no idea how to use the app.
Exactly. It makes it crystal clear, that moment where the designer says, oh, wow, I never even noticed that before.
And Nia's response is, it's just so poignant. She says, yeah, because you don't have to. It's a stark reminder of the privilege that comes with not having to experience these barriers firsthand.
Yeah, and it's a call to action, right? for designers to actively step outside their own bubble and consider the experiences of people who are different from them.
And what's so amazing is that this conversation actually led to concrete change. The UX design team went back, and they actually fixed the problems.
They didn't just put a Band-Aid on it either. They made some fundamental changes to make the app more accessible for everyone.
Like they added clear labels to all the buttons so screen readers could actually announce them properly. They made sure the text contrast met accessibility standards so it was easier to read.
And they even introduced options for users to adjust the text size and color themes to their liking.
Yeah, which is fantastic because it gives people more control over their own experience, and you can just feel the anticipation building as Neda gets ready to try out the updated app.
Oh, yeah, it's like, will it actually work this time? Will she
No.
finally be able to order her groceries independently? And then that moment of relief when she says, oh my God, it works.
The screen reader announcing checkout button, clear as day. The text is legible. It's like this weight has been lifted. And then that simple statement from Neda, thank you for seeing me. I mean, wow.
Talk about powerful. It really shows how inclusive design goes way beyond just functionality. It's about dignity, respect, making people feel seen and valued.
And it's a reminder that good UX design is about creating experiences where everyone can participate, regardless of their abilities.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we all interact with technology in different ways and designing for that diversity.
Which brings us to a question that was actually posed in the original podcast. And it's a question we want to pose to you now. When was the last time you struggled with an app? What would you change to make it better? Not just for yourself, but potentially for others too.
It's a question worth thinking about, right? We all have those moments of frustration with technology. But what if we could take those moments and use them as opportunities to advocate for better, more inclusive design?
Exactly. So think about it. Share your thoughts. Let's keep this conversation going. Because ultimately, designing for accessibility isn't just about making things a little bit easier for some people. It's about building a world where everyone feels like they belong.
A world where technology empowers everyone to participate fully and to live their lives to the fullest. And that's a world worth striving for, wouldn't you say?
I would definitely say so.